Good afternoon. It's Wolfgang Krosky, CEO of the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, and we are continuing our candidate interview series. Today we have Destiny Briscoe, who is a candidate for Pittsburgh Unified School District for their board. And again, you can always go to www.pittsburgh.vote. There you can watch the recording of today's interview as well as all the other interviews that we are doing for candidates that are running for different offices that impact here in the city of Pittsburgh. So again, it's www.pittsburgh.vote. You can read their bios, you can get links to their websites, their social media sites, and the recordings of their interviews. So with that, let's go ahead and turn the time over to you and go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where your history is here in Pittsburgh and with education.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Destiny Briscoe. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm an attorney. I'm also a Contra Costa County Commissioner. And most importantly, I'm your neighbor. And I'm running because I want to ensure that every child that has a dream, that dream is realized. I'm running because I want those parents who want those children's dreams realized to be supported. I'm running to support our teachers and students who have been placed with limitations on them. I'm running because I know what that feels like to be told that I can't do it, that I can't be successful, that I'll never measure up. I'm running because of those children that have been placed in special education and have been told that they can't do it. I see you, I hear you, and I will not stop fighting until your voice, your dreams are realized. Thank you.
So you brought some interesting parts in there, and obviously a school district is not a district without students. That's the whole point. So what do you feel are the current needs of the students of Pittsburgh Unified, and what do you bring, if elected, to address those specific needs?
Thank you. So, what I will say is right now, there is no sense of urgency when it comes to our students' education. I say that because our literacy rate is below the state average. Right now, the state average is 51%. Pittsburgh Unified School District's literacy rate is 35%. On top of that, our teen arrests in Pittsburgh have increased by over 50%. Now, with that, that creates a formula of a school to prison pipeline. I know a lot of times people don't want to address that, but we have to also get into the studies that show that when 2/3 of students are not reading proficiently by fourth grade, they end up in jail. I refuse to have our children be the face of the Contra Costa County Jail. I refuse to have Pittsburgh be that pipeline. I'm a mother and I want the best for my son. And that is what I will ensure that Pittsburgh gets. And so, with those issues, there's also solutions. And those solutions to help increase literacy, because I also want to back up Mr. Krosky and talk about how oftentimes people think that literacy is just an elementary thing, but it's not, because what happens is if literacy is not addressed in elementary, that student goes through fifth grade, sixth grade, middle school, high school, struggling to read. And then they can end up in that school to prison pipeline. So, what we need to do is dial back and ensure that the money and the resources that we have, because our school district does have money and resources, that we provide resources to those students. And what does that look like? That looks like making sure that there are literacy centers and literacy coaches. We also have to ensure, too, that if we have parents that are struggling to read, that we do not shame them, that they can come to the school with their child and get that education that they need to help increase the literacy, not only for them, but for their children. I also think that it's important, in a way in which we curtail teen arrest, is that we bring in work-based learning and CTEs, or vocational programs. Now, that's important because what happens is that we need to make certain that while we have our students that are going to four-year colleges, we also have something for our children that want to do vocational programs, that are looking into, steel work, that are trying to, do things that will set them up for their future. Because what happens is that what I found is Pittsburgh, we have a very rich community. People go to school here. They may end up going to a 4 year college or a vocational school outside of our city. But guess what? They come back. And they come back because they love Pittsburgh. So we have to create that pipeline of ensuring that our students are getting that work based programs. They're getting CTE. They are getting their literacy programs so that they are educated, and when they are getting that great education they can come back and continue to build into the community in which they were raised.
So you brought up one term or topic
Mm-hmm.
that I've not heard yet from in any of the interviews, literacy center. So can
Mm-hmm.
you explain exactly when you say literacy center, what is that? And then if elected, how would you help bring those to the district?
Thank you. So first, I want to, before I address that, I'd like to also point out that shout out to Pittsburgh Kiwanis, which I'm a member of. We really are big in ensuring literacy. And one way in which we did that is when we saw the literacy scores in Pittsburgh, we put together a read aloud in Pittsburgh by bringing in resources, setting up a read aloud at the um, excuse me, bookstore, which is down the street in
On Railroad?
down. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did is we had someone come in, provide interactive reading exercises with the children from ages 0 to 7, as well as provide parents with ways in which they can help increase literacy at home. That was very effective because we had people from coming from outside of Pittsburgh attend that event. So to answer your question, and how does that literacy center set up? It's ensuring that we are using our schools and the buildings that we have set in place so that parents can come in, speak with those literacy coaches, make sure that after school programs include the children coming to increase their literacy, increase their reading, their proficiency, and their reading comprehension. That's what it looks like. It's ensuring that there's a building, which we have, so that our parents and our students can come inside that building, engage in interactive reading activities, get pamphlets, get booklets, as well as exercise packets that they can use and interact with at home so that we can continue to encourage that. Because the fact is, you ask, how do we intend to do it? Where there's money as well. We have the expanded learning opportunity program, and a part of some of the money in which we get from the state and the federal government goes to our low income students, our English language learning students, as well as our foster youth. And that monies, we can look into using some of that monies to ensure that we are boosting our literacy rates and impacting our students, because at the end of the day, when they succeed, we succeed as a community.
Absolutely. And so the literacy center is, it could be housed on the school site, but not necessarily. And it sounds like in your concept, it's not just students, it's the whole student, parent, the whole family.
That's right.
Okay. So that kind of is a great segue into the next one about, we talked about the needs of students. Obviously, parents with students, what are the needs that you see that their parents have that are part of the school district?
So I've had the pleasure of being able to walk and talk with some of our parents in our communities, and they are very dismayed with our school district. I've talked to a number of parents who are thinking about moving out of Pittsburgh to provide better educational opportunities for their children. I've also had the opportunity to talk to other parents who have felt that the school district has not been transparent with them, that they are not being informed about their children. And when they do reach out, they are not receiving responses. I think that it's important, one, that we be transparent with our parents and our teachers, our staff, and our community. And here's why: because as a school district, it's not just the district itself. The schools make up our community. And we need to ensure that our community, our parents, have faith in our school district, that they feel that there is a bit of receptiveness, that is being given to them. And that's important because we don't ever want to feel like we're shutting someone out, or that it's the district versus the parents or the communities. It's one. So, one key factor is ensuring that there's transparency. Another factor is going back to is that our parents are feeling like they need to leave the school district in order for their children to get better educational opportunities. I don't want that to happen. What I want to do is ensure that those literacy rates up, because that's what parents are very concerned about. Because when you look at it, if a child does not have adequate literacy, they're not able to engage in democracy. They're not able to fill out a college application, a job application, read a newspaper. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that Pittsburgh is a place where people are beating down our doors to get their children into our schools, that we are providing our teachers with the resources they need to succeed. And we have other people trying to get into our district to teach because of the way in which we treat our teachers, the way in which we treat our staff, and the fact that our students are thriving. That is what I envision. So it's ensuring that our parents feel confident and knowing that we can give our students that. And I truly believe that we can.
So I'm sure, with those answers that you have a plan, and I'm not asking you to share your secret sauce so that, people can, steal your ideas. But what's one either policy or one facet that you would try to push as a council member or school board member that would try to make some of these ideas come to life?
Yes, the literacy centers, the work-based learning programs, because at the end of the day, that is very important because it allows our children to succeed, but not only succeed, they get a job, they have the opportunity to live back into the communities in which they were raised. Those are what I'm pushing, because at the end of the day, guess what? We have to look at the longevity. It's not just come to school and graduate. It's come to school, be prepared for the life that is ahead of you. And that is how we do it.
Nice. So you talked about the literacy rates being well below state average, and even at 50%, I would say that that's still failing. I mean, half your kids are not able to, really succeed in life because of literacy. What other challenges do you see Pittsburgh Unified facing currently?
So that's a good question. Thank you for asking that. So I would say the three that I'd like to discuss is one, we have the fact that, there is a declining enrollment. What we have been seeing now in Pittsburgh Unified School District is over the course of the last year, we have lost 350 students. And what happens is when there's a decline in enrollment, guess what? That also can affect the funding that we get for the rest of the students that are in our district. I think that it is important that we engage the parents to see what it is that we can do to retain those students. We have to have some sort of interactive communication to see what is it that they envision for their students in our school district, because we can't keep losing students. We have to make sure that we are building a school district and schools that our parents feel great in sending their students, that our teachers are being supported in. And that is one of the issues. I think the second issue that we need to address is that right now, our teachers are not being supported. Now, when we look at the other school districts that are neighboring us or nearby, their high school teachers are being paid approximately $7,000 more than our teachers. Now, if we want to be competitive and if we want to retain and attract the best and brightest teachers, we have to ensure that we have the abilities to do so. And the way in which we do that is by, building that bridge with some of the teaching programs, those that are at UC Berkeley, those that are at San Francisco State, those that are at USF and Cal State East Bay, and building that bridge and that pipeline to bring the best and brightest here, that we're tapping into the grants that allow them to come here, and then that we're paying them adequate, adequate monies to keep them here, because the issue is we don't want to lose the best and brightest to other school districts, because guess what, that affects our students. And I had the opportunity to read an article in SF Chronicle that indicated that just to live in the Bay Area alone, families have to a person has to make an additional $4,400 on top of what they're making just to be able to afford bare necessities, housing, um, money for gas, things of that nature. So, guess what? If we aren't paying our teachers and our staff and the best and brightest to be able to teach in our school district, they're going to go elsewhere. And what I envision is the opportunity for our teachers and staff to be able to work in the community in which they teach and to be able to afford it because of what they're being paid. And that comes with being competitive. I think that it's also important that we look at the fact that we need to also increase the diversity in our staff. And the reason why I say that is because it's important that we look at the numbers and showing that 65% of our students are from the Latinx community. We have 16% that are African American, and we have a melting pot of students at our school, Black, white, Asian. We have to make sure that that body is reflective of that so that children feel that um, they can resonate with that teacher, that they have someone that they can look up to. And that's not to say that they can't look up to the teachers that they have, because that's not the case, but it's just important that we diversify that. I'd also add that it's important that the district be open to our parents. I've had the opportunity to speak to some of our parents, those that are in that have children in special education, and they are very dismayed in which the way that their children are not receiving adequate resources. And what's so great about California is that in our Constitution, our education, public education is a fundamental right. So we have to make sure that all of our children are getting that fundamental right to a great education. And that is what I envision.
So, touching upon these, because there's a lot to unpack
Unpack.
here. So,
Yes.
the declining enrollment,
Yes.
you said 350 students.
Mhm.
And if you don't know, that's why I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. I was just curious. Those 350, those are students confirmed that they went to another neighboring district, or did their family relocate for whatever reason out of the area or out of the state? Do you know the breakdown of that, or?
So with that, the numbers that I provided to you, that was information that was given at a board meeting. And
Okay.
so that information was not, for lack of a better word, deduced. We don't know where
Okay.
those children are. We don't know if they're truant. We don't know if they've moved out of the district because of inflation, because they may not be able to afford no longer living here.
And
But
that's the
what we,
point I was bringing up was, are
yeah.
they, is it a education is inferior in Pittsburgh, or is it families relocating because of cost, or because we definitely have seen a lot of families move out of the area because uh, you know raising children in the Bay Area is a very expensive proposition, and so I was just curious. I wasn't.
No worries. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that up. But right now, those are the numbers. As far as the reason why they are
Mm-hmm.
leaving, we are uncertain. But I
Okay.
think that is important that when parents seek to unenroll their children in our school district, we engage them and we ask why, and we keep this data so that we can build upon it and ensure that whatever the reasons are that they're leaving, that we can change that for the children that are seeking to leave, additionally.
Right. Yeah. When I was a school teacher, one of the strategies, for checking for understanding CFU was the exit ticket, right? Write something that you learned and hand to me as you walk out. And then that way I would know, did they get what was taught? And I
Mm-hmm.
think the concept of an exit survey with parents, because otherwise, if you don't know the problem, how do you fix it? So I
That's
think
right.
that's a good point. And then for the teachers' pay, that's always a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to those, whether they're the district or whatever, that there isn't enough, there aren't enough pieces of the pie to increase teacher pay, that the money's not there. How do
I
you counteract that or response to that?
I would kindly say that that's fallacious because we've seen an increase in this year's budget.
Hmm.
We have to also keep in mind that our teachers are educating our future leaders, those that will be our supervisors, our city council, our presidents, our doctors. We have to ensure that they are getting the best education possible because when our teachers are supported, guess what? Our children are supported. And that's what's important because when I look at other school districts like San Ramon and um, Alkalines, we see that, or Akalani, excuse me, we see that the children are thriving, that their literacy rates are exceeding the state average. That their math rates are exceeding the state average at 77%, their literacy 81%. That's what I envision for Pittsburgh. I do not believe that we should have to leave our city to educate our children. I believe that when amenities are not afforded to us in our community, we build them together. That is important because when we do that, guess what? Our community succeeds as a whole.
Yep, I agree. Rising tide lifts all boats.
Mhm.
That's very very true. So I love the three challenges that you laid out. Clearly, this is, I don't know if it, what area of law do you practice? I didn't
So
ask that.
yeah, so criminal law.
Okay,
Yes.
because you're Mr. Crossky. I was like, wow, I feel this is a deposition here. Who's interviewing who? No,
You're doing
criminal
wonderfully.
law. Okay,
Yeah.
so with these challenges and the needs of students, needs of parents, one area that you touched upon, which is, I've asked all the candidates this because it's important to me. I have a student with special needs that's in this district, and I know the fight that parents have to go through. So, what is your kind of philosophy on special education, and how would you, if you could wave a magic wand as an elected school board member, what would you change in respect to special ed?
So thank you for asking that question. I'd also like to touch on the fact that I'm also a caregiver for my aunt who is 53 years old. Um, she has developmental delays and autism,
Okay.
and I just love her to death. She's amazing. But with that being said, I think that it's important that our students in special education get a stellar special education program. What I'm hearing from our parents is that they do not feel that their students are getting the services that are laid out for them. I think that it's important that we do that. I don't believe that we should hinder our students because at the end of the day, our students should be succeeding. So, what does the stellar special education program looks like? Well, one, I think that it's important that we listen to the needs of our parents, that we consider the resources and the advantages that our students in special education need to succeed, that we also make sure that we look into obtaining the monies that has been given to us by the state, because I think it's really important to lay out the fact that Gavin Newsom gave approximately $500 million to special education, and that we make sure that we're tapping into that money so that we can't say that there's no monies here. Because when we do that, guess what? We hinder our children's education. And so it's important that we look at the needs of each individual student in special education and that we are adhering to the ways in which we can continue to advance what it is that they need to succeed. So that is what I see.
Awesome. So, what globally speaking about the quality of special ed, what are maybe one or two specific challenges that you would want to address first with special ed in the district?
So, what I'm actually hearing from our parents, and I keep referring back to them because I think it's important to one, as a leader, you have to be a good listener and you have to ensure that the services that you are providing to students is actually conducive to what they need and not what I think they need. And so a part of that is ensuring that one, they are getting the literacy that they need, because one parent has indicated that her son is still not reading appropriately, and that he's behind. He's 7 years old but reading less than a kindergartner. So we have to ensure that student is getting the services that they need. Additionally, I would say that we're looking at their individual plans that are in place. And not just throwing them aside or saying, hey, we can't provide this services, so let's unenroll you, because that's not right and that's not fair. And so that is what I look at, because each child that is in special education has a particular plan that is laid out for them. And so the way in which we um, address the needs of that student is ensuring that we are addressing those plans and not sweeping them under the rug. And that is what I see.
Good. All right. So we've talked about literacy, the needs of students, needs of parents. What would you say to those that maybe aren't at this point willing to vote for you? What would you tell them about yourself? Or that's some question I like to, for those that are challengers, they're not incumbents and they're not as maybe as well known or in the community or whatnot, and they hear things. What would you say, or what would you tell them?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, one, I'm not in this for accolades. I'm not in this to boost my resume. I'm in this because I care. And I truly believe that every child should have the right to succeed. Now, here's the thing. With that being said, this position as a school board member is something that should be taken full time. And that is what I will give to the students in this district, is provide this myself full time to the needs of our students, because they have to succeed and they will succeed. I will not be rubber stamping things, and I will ensure that as an attorney, I'm using my hat to, one, not only decipher where the funds are going, but how they are being used responsibly. Okay? Because at the end of the day, it's about our students. Now, someone might say, well, are you just going to do business as usual? No. And the reason being is because there has to be urgency when it comes to our children. It has to be urgency when it comes to our schools and our teachers. And that is what I'll be fighting for. And I'll let you know that I'm not scared of anyone. So with that being said, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and continue to fight for our children, because the time is now. We can no longer wait. We can no longer do business as usual. And with that being said, I'd also like to indicate that I have been involved in education for over 15 years. I may not be a teacher, but I've always ensured that I've mentored students, that I've tutored students, that I've ensured that they had the proper skills set in place to succeed, whether that had been for students in high school, tutoring in college, as well as being a teacher's assistant in law school, to ensure that our students had the fundamentals to succeed. This is something that I am passionate about. I know that education is the piece to a wonderful puzzle in our life. And I know that because of what I had to go through, how I was discounted. And I refuse to let that happen to our children in this school district. So I ask that you join me on this journey, because our children will win.
Well, I definitely thank you for that. I love the ideas that you have, and I think that some of the data points that you've brought to this conversation are definitely very useful and helpful. If people want to learn more about your campaign or get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yes, thank you. So you can visit my website, which is www.destinybriscoe.com, or you can find me on Facebook at Briscoe, the number 4, education. And that's my webpage. Also, if you are wanting to canvas with me, wanting to get out the word with me, please go to email me at info@destinybriscoe.com. I am so excited for this campaign, and I hope you join me, because right now, again, the time is now, and I'm your candidate.
I want to thank everybody. We'll give Destiny the opportunity to give her last, we'll say, closing remarks. It's a familiar term, right, for a lawyer. But again, go to www.pittsburgh.vote. There you can view not only a recording of this interview, but all the candidate interviews. You'll be able to get links to their websites, their Facebook page, read their bios that they provided to us. So we encourage you to go to www.pittsburgh.vote. It is a free resource that the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce is providing all residents, and we hope that you take advantage of that. So with that, Destiny, what's the final word?
Vote Destiny Briscoe, because I care about our children, I care about our schools, I care about our teachers, and I care about our community. And here's the thing, what I envision is that our schools will be still thriving 70 years from now. And that is what I want, okay? I'm going to make sure that that happens. But in order to do so, I need your support.